All right, guys. Okay, guys, I'm going to give my reaction to the 2023 Consensus NFL Draft Big Boards. This is a composite of 74 different big boards, all combined into one in the overall aggregate average, really to see who the actual best players are when you combine all of the experts' big boards. Instead of anecdotally taking one at a time, we're going to go through and just look at the actual consensus big board currently as it stands. And how about CJ Stroud taking over the number one overall spot? Personally, I would have Will Anderson 1, CJ Stroud 2, Bryce Young 3. But CJ Stroud is an elite thrower of the football. He showed mobility in the Georgia game. Yes, he's got great receivers, but he's just got such a great arm. He's like a taller Drew Brees, the way he throws. That's who I kind of compare him to, but he's got even better arm strength than Drew Brees. Will Anderson, to me, is an absolute superstar. If you need defense, he should be, certainly, in my opinion, the number one overall player off the board in terms of defense. Obviously, you're going to get teams trading up for quarterbacks. He might not go until pick 3 or 4, but the idea that Jalen Carter should go in front of him is completely ridiculous and really only scheme-oriented. I would love to see Will Anderson in a 4-3 as a pass rusher with his hand in the dirt. I mean, he might have to put on a few pounds to do that. But Will Anderson, as a sophomore, 17 sacks, 34 tackles for loss. It's just devastation. Bryce Young, I think he's the definition of a franchise quarterback. He does have a significant concern with the height and the weight. He is very small, but he said he was putting on weight. He was bulking up a little bit, and I'm sure he will. The only issue is the overall height, which NFL teams don't care a ton about that anymore. We saw Baker Mayfield go number 1 overall. We saw Kyler Murray go number 1 overall, so I agree. Right now, it's CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, 1A, 1B. Jalen Carter, the best interior defensive lineman in the class. I'll give you that, but there's no way if I am Arizona and the top 2 teams both draft quarterbacks because Chicago trades down from one, and I have a choice between Will Anderson and Jalen Carter, I don't care about a scheme fit. I'm taking Will Anderson. That's not even a question. But yes, Jalen Carter is, a really good interior defensive lineman. Will Levis at number 5, personally, I would have him a little bit lower than that. But I do think a lot of the hate that Will Levis gets is kind of undeserved. There's a lot of comparisons to Zach Wilson, which makes no sense. The level of competition isn't even close. The way both of these quarterbacks are built isn't even close. Will Levis is a bigger guy, and he played in the SEC. And you know what? He's going to get a significant buff from some of these teams. There's questions about his accuracy. There's going to be comparisons to Josh Allen, and Allen's accuracy at Wyoming was significantly worse than Will Levis, and we know Will Levis is a big quarterback who can also run. I'm not saying Will Levis is the next Josh Allen, but there are certainly similarities between the two, and there's a lot of casual fans who really, do this thing where it's like Will Levis is the next Zach Wilson when they're not even close to the same. Myles Murphy at number 6, I would pass on Myles Murphy, the edge defender who, is kind of ranked this high due to his unique build. But looking at his career at Clemson, I think it was underwhelming, especially for a 5-star. I didn't see enough production to warrant a top 10 pick. Christian Gonzalez, I have no clue where they're compiling data that has Christian Gonzalez as the number 7 overall player. I would put him at a fringe first rounder, but even if you're high on Christian Gonzalez, I don't know who's mocking him inside of the top 10. Paris Johnson, the number 1 overall offensive tackle at number 8. It's respectable. You can see some people mocking him to the Raiders. The Raiders might not even have their first round pick if they trade for Aaron Rodgers. Maybe Paris Johnson goes to Tennessee at number 11. If he's there, we know the Titans need an offensive tackle. Tyree Wilson at number 9, very similar to Myles Murphy. I think there's huge bust potential. I do like Wilson more than Murphy because I think he's more athletic. And I have seen a lot of mock drafts with Tyree Wilson going to the Atlanta Falcons at number 8. You can see also Seattle at number 5. Joey Porter Jr., love it. I think Joey Porter Jr. probably is the number 1 or number 2 cornerback in this class. I've seen him in several mocks to the Commanders and the Steelers. He's a really, really good physical cornerback, big corner too. Peter Skoronski, really good offensive tackle. Whoever gets him inside of the top 15, I think they're doing a good job. So Skoronski and Paris Johnson Jr. to me are both going to be really good NFL players. Yes, they're boring picks because they're offensive linemen, but I really do like those two as good tackles. Quentin Johnston, I'm not going to call him a bust, but he's certainly probably my 5th best receiver for me in this draft. I don't love him. He kind of reminds me of Treylon Burks. I was heavily against Treylon Burks last year. They didn't listen. He ends up going in the first round, and he looks like a complete bust. So Quentin Johnston, kind of the bigger receiver that's trending right now in the first round. And it's nothing against really Quentin Johnston. I think he can be a good NFL player, but you're ranking him in front of Jordan Addison, in front of Jackson Smith-Njigba. I'm not buying that personally. Jordan Addison at number 13, he's going to be a really good NFL player. You compare his movements kind of to Garrett Wilson, honestly. He's just a very smooth receiver. Anthony Richardson, who knows, man? It's a huge risk with Anthony Richardson. He's got a massive arm. He's extremely raw. There's no way he can start week 1 in the NFL. But you just know someone's probably going to trade up to number 10. Maybe Carolina at number 9 finds him intriguing enough to pick. He's almost a lottery ticket. You got to trust the development. It's kind of like Will Levis. You just got to trust the overall talent and really make sure that, he's got everything going on in terms of his ability to read the field and comprehend things, because a lot of these quarterbacks that bust out just can't really get a grasp of everything. So that's one of the... Next, we've got Devin Witherspoon. He's probably my cornerback 1 or cornerback 2 of the entire class. Love Devin Witherspoon. The one question with him, Illinois had an extremely bad schedule in terms of the opponents they played in the Big Ten. Like, no good quarterbacks. They faced no one. So he really wasn't tested, but he's a physical cornerback. He's a dog, and that's what you want for a corner. Michael Mayer at 16, really solid, complete player. I would like Green Bay to take him. I think that's a great fit for the Packers. Bijan Robinson at 17, superstar running back. He's the one running back in this draft class that's going to go in the first round. But how high will he go? Probably not until later into the first round, where someone maybe trades up for him. That might be the Dallas Cowboys. We will see. Bryan Bresee is falling like a rock. It's not surprising. He is kind of an interior defensive lineman who has had significant injury concerns. He is a former number 1 overall recruit back in 2020. But yeah, I think he's going to continue to fall a little bit. Brian Branch, I love physical safeties. He's also a cornerback. He's very versatile. Brian Branch, to me, possibly could be a top 10 pick. Broderick Jones, another offensive tackle. You can see at number 20, maybe a little bit high, but certainly offensive tackles are in very high demand. Jackson Smith-Njigba at number 21. I think him going to the Ravens, if they re-sign Lamar Jackson, would be an unbelievable fit. It would really give Lamar a legit possession number 1 receiver that he's really been lacking, and I think that'd be really good. I like JSN. I think he could go top 15. Khalil Ringo, the cornerback from Georgia, former top 5 overall recruit, ridiculous athlete, really fast. I've seen a lot of mocks with him going in the second round, but yeah, he's going to blow up in the combine. Cam Smith, the corner from South Carolina at 23. He is a fringe first rounder. I like Cameron Smith a lot. you can see a team like Minnesota probably will be taking either Ringo or Smith. They're definitely in the need for a cornerback. Van Ness at 24. I'm not the biggest fan of Van Ness, but I'll have to watch more film on him personally. Torrance, the interior offensive tackle at 25. He's a solid player. It depends how early our team's going to want to draft offensive tackles. Trenton Simpson at 26. I'm concerned about Trenton Simpson's speed as a linebacker. If he does not do well at the combine, there's no way he's going in the first round. Teams will just refuse to invest a high round pick into a linebacker that's not fast enough. Jalen Hyatt, I've got major concerns for him. He's got shaky hands. He dropped a lot of passes. That's why his PFF grade was pretty bad. And the other concern with him is he's got no route tree. It would surprise me if he went in the first round. But then again, if they fall in love with the speed, I view Hyatt as a number 3 receiver who's just like only a deep threat. Kind of like Devin Smith, if you guys remember him at Ohio State. Harrison, kind of a later back-end first round offensive tackle from Oklahoma. Gibbs, the running back from Alabama, superstar. I think he goes early second. If I'm Buffalo and I can't get Bijan Robinson, I would take Gibbs in the first round. Clark Phillips, the third, I think he's probably way overranked on this board. I guess it's a consensus big board, but he's very small. He is like 5'9". Drew Sanders, really good linebacker, built really well, former 5-star. He's a fringe first rounder. Foskey, he really struggled at the Senior Bowl. Antonio Johnson, he's just a guy. I mean, you always get these safeties that are just, I mean, I would not invest a first-round pick into him. Darnell Washington is really interesting. He's an athletic freak. He is a really good blocker. Washington, really good. So I could see him going later in the first round, both as a pass catcher and a blocker. BJ And then just looking at some of these other ones, other guys I've been seeing that get mocked in the first round, this is kind of the only, this Aki from Baylor, the only huge defensive tackle like mammoth, like Vince Wilfork type, and he actually struggled at Baylor a little bit, but still, he's one of a kind for this draft class, so we'll see. Josh Downs could go as high, maybe even into the first round, maybe to a team like the Dallas Cowboys. Josh Downs and Zay Flowers are so similar. They're like brothers, the way they play. Emmanuel Forbes, I love him. I think he's a first-round cornerback. He looks like Sauce Gardner. Jones, the offensive tackle from Ohio State, had an amazing Senior Bowl. He's probably going to be an early second-round pick. I could see Nolan Smith going in the first round for sure. Keyshawn Boutte, the receiver for LSU, I would stay away from him. I've seen too many of these guys that have, just character issues, and they always bust out. Like, I know this dude's a 5-star. I know he's really talented. There's Luke Musgrave, who has gotten some serious hype in the first round. Noah Sewell, Dalton Kincaid, who I think is going to be a first rounder. Kalijah Cansey is an interior defensive tackle who I could see maybe going to Philadelphia at pick number 30. Derek Hall has received significant hype. Stevenson is an absolute beast the way he's built. He's going to do real well at the combine. Wright, the offensive tackle, moving up significantly. This is the best center in the draft. This Minnesota center, up 7 spots. Wright is up 16 spots. Banks, the corner from Maryland, is up 7 spots. And there's just some other players. Brandon Joseph, I love. Keon White is someone that I've seen in several first rounds of mock drafts. This Duncan I've seen go as low as round 5. Nathaniel Dell I've seen kind of mid to late second rounder. Zach Harrison, someone I could see really shoot up the boards. He's going to have a crazy good combine. J.L. Skinner is a good safety. I'm guessing he goes in the second round. Zach Charbonnet is really good. He's going to be a second round pick in my opinion, but that's kind of the top guys there. Wow, they've got Dwayne McBride ranked pretty high. There's Hendon Hooker. So Hendon Hooker's very polarizing. Do they have Hendon Hooker above Tanner McKee? I haven't seen. Xavier Hutchinson is someone I really like, but he's going to test real bad Xavier Hutchinson had crazy good numbers in a horrible offense. Sam Laporta is a good player as well. But that's just kind of the top 100 players. My reaction to this list, Cedric Tillman coming off an injury, barely played last year. Yeah, I guess we'll see with Hendon Hooker. I mean, he's 25 years old. That's tough for being, for entering the NFL. Will a team take a chance on him? Maybe trade up early second round. If they fall in love with him, they will. We kind of know with quarterbacks, you either go early or you go real late. Very few teams will draft a quarterback in the middle of the round, in like round 3 or 4 or 5. That's just kind of, they use those rounds to fill depth on the offensive line, defensive line, and really draft for depth. So guys, that's just kind of an update on the current status of the big board. I'm actually not too sure if this is a legitimate big board because some of these guys, Nathaniel Dell, I haven't seen him that low. There's McKee at 63 is pretty low for him. Brandon Joseph at 62 seems a little bit high if you go by the PFF big board. But Kincaid seems real low. Musgrave seems low. Nolan Smith seems low. Jones seems real high at 40. But then again, I've seen people mock Jones in the first round, the offensive tackle from Ohio State. So guys, that's going to do it for this video.